information later. All right.
Yes.
It being 6 o'clock, I am calling to order the Select Board meeting of September 22nd, 2025. And if you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being telecast live by Chelmsford Telemedia and being recorded for later viewing by the public. First up, we have public service announcements. And actually, normally, well, I should note that we have one member missing tonight. Pat Maloney is not with us, and Jeff Hardy, I think, is supposed to be here.
Yeah, we're expecting him any moment.
So we are expecting him any moment. Does somebody else want to do public announcements?
Want me to?
Do you want to do them?
Sure,
Okay,
be
because
glad to.
normally Pat Maloney does them. Thanks,
Okay.
Pat.
Okay, so first up is the LRTA is still looking for people to take their Regional Comprehensive Transit Plan Survey to come up with ideas on how they can improve service over the next 5 years. And you can find that survey if you go to the LRTA.com website. Second is the fall book sale for the Chelmsford Friends of the Library is coming up Friday, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th, and Sunday, October 5th. Plenty of used books on all different genres for all different levels. There is a members-only sale on Thursday, October 2nd from 5 to 8 p.m. On Sunday, there's an extra special where from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. you can get a complete box of books for just $5. It's a great deal. I usually go at the end of the sale and stock up for at least the next year. Next is a job fair on September 24th that is sponsored by Mass Hire Lowell. That will be held at Chelmsford Town Hall from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. again on September 24th. Chelmsford Indigenous Peoples Day celebration, sponsored by the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, will be held on the Common in conjunction with the usual market on the Common on Saturday, October 11, 2025, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. There will be a panel discussion with stories and perspectives from Indigenous leaders, dance and cultural celebrations, information tables, and kids' activities. And lastly, the DPW is seeking plow contractors for the 2025 to 2026 winter season. You can check out the DPW website or call or email mthomas@chelmsfordma.gov to find out what the rates are, what the incentives are, and how you can sign up for plowing this winter season for the town. And that's it for PSAs.
Okay, thanks, Pat. Next up, we have general public input. Do we have anyone for public input? And just a reminder, we generally go for about 3 minutes for public input, and if people could just give us their name before they start. Thanks.
Hi.
Hi.
Mike Rigney, 19 Billerica Road.
Hi, Mike.
I am here in my capacity as the chair of the Center Village Master Plan Committee. We got a late breaking blurb that didn't make it into the packet. On October 6th, that's a Monday night, at the library, there will be a public input session. It's being run by NEMCOG. This is the beginning event to what may become a major reconstruction of Chelmsford Street from Chicken Corner up to Fletcher Street. As you know, the state has taken over the roadway from Fletcher Street to Golden Cove. So that project's in the works. This is kind of the first bit of another project between kind of the center section of Chelmsford Street. So we're looking for people to kind of give us ideas about how they'd like that area to look, what's important to them, and we'll go from there. There will be additional sessions with more information after NEMCOG has had a chance to collect and collate the input that we get on October 6th, with a final report probably by the end of the year. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Richard Freitas, Precinct 9, Town Meeting Rep. I'm here mainly to bring up something that Virginia Crockett-Timmons proposed before she left, and that was to go after the leaks in the town of Chelmsford. I left the packet, and since then, Congressman Laurie Trahan and Senator Barrett have jumped on a federal bill to improve gas pipeline safety. I would hope that you would go forward and talk to our representatives when you meet with them to see if we can improve the amount of leaks in the town of Chelmsford. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Anyone else for public input? No? Anyone on Zoom?
We have no Zoom this evening.
Okay, great. Next, we have committee vacancies. Pat, do you want to? You can
Sure.
if you like.
Okay, we have the following vacancies available as of today. There's one vacancy on the Agricultural Commission, one vacancy on the Board of Assessors, one vacancy on the Capital Planning Committee. On the Commission of Disabilities, there are 5 vacancies of varying lengths. There are 3 vacancies on the Council on Aging Board, 1 vacancy on the Historic District Commission, 2 vacancies on the Holiday Decorating Committee. The Parade Committee welcomes all applicants for 1-year terms. There are 2 vacancies on the Permanent Building Committee and 1 vacancy on the Vinyl Square Strategic Action Plan Committee. If you're interested in serving on any committee, you can check this out at the town website and fill out an application there or through the town manager's office.
Thanks, Pat. And next up, we have a public hearing, National Grid and Verizon for a poll petition at Parkhurst Road. Do we have someone from National Grid?
We should probably just table this until hopefully somebody shows this evening. We were told they were sending a representative in person.
Okay. Okay, we can go back to that. Yep. Next, we have our recommendations on the fall annual town meeting warrant articles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's 35 articles on the warrant. What I would suggest, we have some presenters here this evening, and much like was the case last Thursday night at the Finance Committee, we can allow those to present their articles. They go on their way, and then I can cover the ones that are financial and town related. So the order that they did at the Finance Committee is they had the Coolest Farm one, the petition article first, followed by the rodenticides article. And then we would then do the zoning articles, and then I'll sort of pick up the remainder after that. So that's
Okay.
probably the best way to proceed, a courtesy to those in attendance.
Yep, that sounds good. So, yep, that sounds fine. So first, we have the Coolest Farm. Which article is that again?
34.
34, thank you. Okay, and we have someone here to speak about that.
Hi, John Ray, 223 Pine Hill Road.
Mr. Ray?
Mouseless. So Article 34, Citizens Petition for Select Board Action on Coolest. The citizen petition is asking the Select Board to keep a portion of Coolest Farm as restored open fields and community land rather than reverting to unmanaged growth until all uses are decided. Actual petition says to see if the town will vote to recommend that the Select Board maintain the town-owned property known as Coolest Farm located at 185 Pine Hill Road and acquired using Community Preservation Act funds in a condition last maintained by the Department of Public Works, DPW, as family-friendly recreational open fields and managed agricultural land. The property should be formally designated as community-focused, multi-use land as proposed by the Coolest Farm Task Force, including an event area suitable for larger, not large, but larger groups. The town should not allow the site to revert to unmanaged habitat or forest, and further, the town is requested to refrain from finalizing any pertinent conservation restriction or long-term land use designated for Coolest Farms until these matters are fully addressed and resolved or act in relation to thereof. Additional detail, the condition of last maintained by the Department of Public Works. DPW did most of the work clearing. Fantastic. Alongside of Friends of Family, Coolest Farm restored the site. In April, regular mowing stopped and the fields began to grow again. Event area suitable for larger groups. Examples include things that we've had. Examples include small scout stargazing nights or outdoor music similar to Sunny Meadow Farm, always subject to the town's standard approval process. Community-focused multi-use land definition is a blend of fields for events and recreation, community agriculture, and conservation buffers. The opportunity to maintain a modest open field area, approximately 3 acres, as part of the 31 acres for public use and in employment, in enjoyment. I should have my glasses on, in addition to the trails and picnic area, just as we have at Red Wing Farm. So the photograph on the left is Coolest. The photograph on the right is Red Wing today. So April and today. Inspired by a proven conservation model, last year volunteers and DPW successfully restored and created a beautiful and accessible public space at Coolest Farm that respects the site's conservation value. Our model was inspired by Red Wing Farm's low-impact, passive-use model focusing on family activities appropriate for the Coolest Farm landscape. Balanced use. Public use of the site on this maintained area would be defined and town managed. Conservation restriction requirements for wetland buffers would be respected. Volunteers would assist in maintenance, building on the strong community interest in Coolest Farm. As with Red Wing Farm, this model minimizes the town's resources after initial restoration. No DPW resources would be required for ongoing maintenance as it had been for the initial restoration. Red Wing Farm serves as a similar model for a conservation site maintained successfully for over a decade with no cost to the town. Your voice does matter. This is not a demand. It's a request from the citizens for the Select Board to review the current and future plans of Coolest Farm. It's an opportunity to ensure the conservation restriction reflects the balanced vision of conservation and community-friendly open space. It should be noted that the town engaged the community after purchasing the land to help determine the use, and broader public use for Coolest was recommended. A yes vote by the town meeting asks for the Select Board to consider the community's desire for a modest, family-friendly open area at Coolest Farm. Demonstrates to the Select Board how strongly the community feels about maintaining a public open area on the land they purchased. Supports the balance between conservation and public use that is achieved successfully at Red Wing Farm by the Conservation Commission. Please vote yes on Article 4. Any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Okay. And what is the other?
Can,
Do you have something?
I was gonna ask a question, but it's not, I'm good.
Sure.
Does the chair want to vote recommendations after each article, or do you want to do it later in the evening, or how do you want to do this?
I'm not sure how we normally do it. We normally
I
do
mean,
it one by one.
Yeah, lately, as we've been doing them, as we get a presentation, we do a vote. We have a discussion and then we do a vote. That way, the proponent knows what the result is before they leave.
Okay.
Rather than, I mean, that would be my preference, so.
So before we vote, could I?
Yes,
ask
we can
questions?
discuss. Yep.
Oh, yeah, well, we
Please.
can ask questions too, right?
We can ask questions to the petitioner.
To
Or anybody.
Mr. Ray and,
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead. Do you have questions?
yeah, sorry, Mr. Ray, you put the two side by sides up. I was here fortunately for your first presentation. And I think the Finance Committee had asked you to, if you had pictures of the before and the after of Coolis. Just to confirm, that's the before, that's the Coolis now in Red Wing, correct?
The coolest,
The
the
before
photo on the
you-
left,
while you
the
were
photo
cur-
on the left is coolest April 30th.
Okay,
Okay, the photo on the right is Red Wing now.
and do you have a current one of Coolis today?
Coolest,
Because I
no,
haven't been up there unfortunately
It's-
recently.
overgrown.
Okay,
The invasives and weeds are 3 to 4 feet high. And in the last month or so, it's so dry up there, some of that's fallen down some.
and so I just want to make sure I'm clear too.
You
What-
cannot see, in that slide on the left, you can see the stone walls. And the stone walls are like a pearl necklace. It just is a remarkable feature. And now you can't see them. The weeds are so high.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm understanding, and if somebody else has a good explanation, exactly what we're voting on. So if we vote to support this and town meeting supports, what exactly are we gonna get out of it? Because I did read the conservation chair's letter too. And again, a lot of the things I think you've been asking for and what they're saying, there doesn't seem to be a lot of daylight between Friends of Coolis, other than this one parcel, I think, or one part of it that's not being mowed. So,
No, the three, depends how you want to define it, but the three fields, okay, are not being, we were instructed May 12th to stop mowing. So we stopped mowing. Actually, we had finished up mowing in April, so that's why we had April there. And we stopped mowing, and it very quickly overgrew. And what you're gonna get out of it, look at the photograph on the left. Okay, that's, you would get that back. It's gonna take a while to do that, but, and residents could go back to using the left field, and depending on whatever works out between conservation, I mean, if there's a meeting of the minds, at least the left field and hopefully some of the right field, okay? But there's been no official real dialogue.
but I was at a conservation meeting where there was a plan for kind of all of our public lands that was laid out. Again, I'm not on that committee and nor am I heavily involved in it, but there seems to be a plan to maintain all of this, and I certainly recognize all the effort you put in and the frustration that you have, but again, I think what I've heard in the last couple of meetings, and again, what I'm reading here today, is that, what you'd like to see and where Conservation Commission is going is we're not too far apart, so,
We're a long ways apart.
okay.
Okay, on just, we're talking three acres, okay? The three fields, about 3 acres. The whole rest is fine. 31 acres,
Okay, so again, I guess, and maybe if somebody else has some other questions that can help clarify, right? Because I really want this to come to a resolution. I think we need need this to come to resolution. So what's the, with the parcel that we're talking about, the 3 acres, not the 31 acres, what exactly do you want to see that Conservation Commission is not committing to in their plan for all of the open space, as well as to the replies that,
well, I'm not
I
addressing.
just want to know what I want to vote on, what I'm voting on, that's all.
Thank you. Anything outside, we're not even discussing, we're fine with everything outside those 3 fields.
Okay.
That we had cleared, okay, and maintained and diligently worked, had access to bittersweet and managed to cut back a lot, still needs more. And so all our discussion is really on those three fields. And then I haven't had a chance to address that three-page letter. Carl came down on Saturday to do a look, but that doesn't count, okay? Because it's not open meeting, right, Paul? If you're doing something in the field. So and there's three parties in this negotiation or ownership. The select board owns this property. Conservation manages it. And then there's Paul, who gets a large say on this. But the citizens have a large say, and the citizens didn't like it being taken away from them. It was open, but tick infested. So I have not seen anybody using the property since I was here in May.
So are you asking me to vote on this article is basically going to allow you to would allow Friends of Coulis, and I would suspect any other volunteers, because I can't imagine that this is only Friends of Coulis. Other volunteers ought to be able to spend their time. Are you asking me to vote yes so that you can go back to maintaining the fields? Is it that simple, or is there more to it than that?
I guess you'd have to ask Carl, okay, how simple it is. Because he's laid down some rules, okay, that may be time sensitive, and it seems like he's amenable to back off on some of those. But maybe what we need to do, Aaron, is have a little meeting with Conservation, Select Board, maybe Paul, and work out the differences. I'm open to anything.
So I think what Aaron's kind of getting at, and I have trouble with this too, is this condition last maintained by the Department of Public Works. I mean, the select board, I think, is happy to work to find some sort of cooperation here, but condition last maintained by the Department of Public Works leaves a lot of room for interpretation. You say roughly 3 acres. I mean, which fields exactly are you talking about? What parameters are you talking about? You know, from what I understand, one of the issues in the past was the mowing in proximity to the vernal pools. Can you agree that you are going to stop mowing within a certain distance from the vernal pools? I mean, for us to go back to the Conservation Commission
Aaron,
that we've tasked with maintaining this and to say, we want to allow this, we need to give them very specific parameters. So this is my main question with this is, what are those parameters? Condition last maintained by the DPW it's not definitive for me. And that's where I think there's been misunderstanding in the past between the Friends of Coulis and the Conservation Commission. And I feel that telling us condition last maintained by the DPW is also just leaves too much room for interpretation. I don't know how to do that as a board without stepping on one party's toes or the others.
Well, yeah, and I guess to, kind of piggyback on that, there's really not much detail. To me, it's not specific enough, because then on the next page it says, condition last maintained, and then event suitable for larger groups, and then it defines what you call larger groups there, and then community-based multi-use land, and they define that there. But unless that's in the article, it's really meaningless, unfortunately. I mean, there's no definition in the article about what
Yes.
those things mean.
So you're asking us to provide specific guidance to the Conservation Commission, but what is that guidance? I don't, yeah.
And do we have the authority to sign on to something like this? That's still.
Well, this is an advisory article only. It's not binding on anybody, no matter how the town meeting votes. The care, custody, and control of the property rests with the select board.
Okay.
And the select board has asked the commission to manage the property while the conservation preservation restriction is being developed. And that's ongoing. You know, the survey has been out there, you know, the baseline survey, and that takes time, as we've seen with Warren Pool and other properties. And that's where we are at this point in time. What I might suggest to the board is, we have the chair of the Conservation Commission, Carl Bischoff, here this evening. I think it'd be appropriate to hear from Carl as to what's the commission's activities, what's on their agenda, and the efforts that he's made recently, as John referred to, as an effort to get resolution to this matter.
Yeah, because from what I'm picking up, we're talking about these couple of parcels, and we're talking about mowing. And again, I think in some of the other stuff that I've seen from Conservation Commission, there's no intent to just leave the property as it is. Like, that's not the long-term plan. So I'm wondering how much of this is really just timing. So if the chairman of the commission's willing to come up and help clarify his understanding, that'd be great.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Select Board. We don't have a hard plan. We have a general plan for Coulis. Our main focus is to get the conservation restriction in place. That's our number one objective. We have a lot of work that has happened. It's ongoing. Paul and I had discussions about that topic today with David Kuntz, our agent. We don't plan to revert the site to just general unmanaged habitat. That's never been the case. We are willing and happy to expand some amount of the mowing. I've been out there mowing myself. I've been out there brush hogging it. We have members of the commission working there. We have other volunteers working there. I haven't had any ticks all summer. I've been out there. We can work. I had a discussion on Saturday with members of the Coulis family on the site, and John joined in, and I had some proposals. And here, we're still here. It is 1 acre of land that we're talking about. It's not 3 acres, it's 1 acre. The meadow on the right should be left as a meadow. We'll still have to manage it as a managed meadow, and we have to come up with a plan for that. It could take 2 or 3 years to come up with that. The part in the middle that John's really referring to is 1 acre of land, of which a portion of that is already planned to be blocked off for the vernal pool exclusion, the buffer zone. And another part of that we're already cutting. If we want to cut some more, that's fine. We can do that. We can cut some more. I think it is a good idea to expose the stone walls. We all love New England stone walls. That's a great idea. We absolutely need to work on invasive plant management on that site. It's a nice site. It's a great site. There's got a lot of possibilities for that site. We have to get a granite sign. We have to get a kiosk installed. We can do some more trails. We have lots of ideas to get that site into a better shape than it is. Right now, there are 3 cement pads where the cow barn was. They have to be removed. They're an eyesore, in spite of one of the family members likes it as the old family barn and doesn't want to lose that, but none of the other family agreed with him. So I think we're close. I believe we are really close to this, and we've made some attempts to try to not have this be a town-wide referendum. We're just too close. It's just the amount of mowing is the way I look at it. Any specific questions? And DPW did not maintain the site last year. They developed it, cleaned it up, but they weren't doing any maintenance of that site. The other thing is we have reached out with scouts, trying to connect with scouts and do more work on our conservation sites with scouts. We have a liaison in our committee, on our commission, so we're trying to step that up. We'd be happy to have more scout events on the site. We'd be happy to have, if somebody said they wanted more space for something on that site, we can make that work. We can make a lot of this work. There's not, I think you hit on it, that we're not that far apart. We can make this work.
So, Carl, just listening to the indications I've gotten there, where you guys are not far apart, would it not make sense to table this until Springtown meeting? Because winter-wise, what are you really going to do?
We plan to brush hog the field now that pollinator season is just about over. The nesting season is now definitely over. So we can brush hog the field, get some invasives knocked down. Then we can work on some of the rocks that are in the field and get those out of there so that it's easier to cut going forward. So we plan on doing that and making that happen over the fall, winter, spring.
So this article isn't going to change
It
any of
won't
that?
change anything between now and April or May, no.
So some of the things you've talked about maintaining, you said you personally are doing some of the mowing. There's a plan to maintain one parcel as a meadow, so that doesn't get cut all the time, but it's gotta be maintained, otherwise
Yeah,
it gets out
Sure,
of control.
yeah. And by the way, a lot of those, he said weeds, those are pollinators. Many of them are native pollinators.
That's definitely above my pay grade. I'll have to trust you guys on that. And then we had talked about, Mr. Ray had talked about bittersweet and all that stuff. Is there any reason why those things like the bittersweet can't be maintained? Because I know that gets,
It's a lot of work. We're in the process of doing that at Warren Poll. We have a contractor coming in to do work. We have volunteers that have been doing it for 4 years at Warren Poll. These guys were doing it. They can keep doing it. There's nothing stopping them from doing that now.
nothing stopping them to maintain the bittersweet. The fields are getting mowed, but maybe there's some disagreement on where and how often or something? Is that what we're being asked for?
No restriction on invasive bittersweet removal.
Okay. And then if there were, I think we had talked about this before, if there were rules and guidelines around where to mow and what to mow, that there could be some agreement there. So all the work that they had put in, and unfortunately, maybe some of that was lost. I don't know how much, because I don't know the before and after, but it doesn't sound like again, I don't know what I'm voting on tonight, because it just doesn't sound like, if they can remove the bittersweet, which is what Mr. A wanted to maintain, if we could maintain one of the fields, maybe there's a disagreement on how much of the fields and the type of mowing, but again, at least part of it is there. It seems, again, it's like I asked earlier, it seems like we're a little closer than it sounds like to have an article at town meeting. But I,
Agree more.
Can I say
So-
something?
is it a public meeting? We can. It's up to you as chair.
Sure. Carl, do you mind if someone else comes up and, okay, thank you.
Let this get to be a debate.
Yeah,
on
we'll
it.
just,
Sorry.
we're not gonna go on this for too long, but
No,
sure,
that's
go
fine,
ahead.
but
Hi.
I do, as
Could
a
you just
citizen
state-
of Chelmsford who was
Could you
very
just
much
say your
involved
name?
in the Coolers Task Force meetings.
Could you state your name for
My
the-
name is
thank you.
Martha Seeker. I'm known as Jane Newhouse. I run Newhouse Wildlife Rescue. And there were a lot of meetings and discussions about what to do with the Coolers property. And I spent, I don't know, countless hours representing and talking about what we wanted to do and speaking with a lot of other members of the community. And a lot of people did vote, and a lot of time went into it. And it felt like for nothing in the end. It really did. Like, as a citizen, that has frustrated me so much, because I don't understand why we were asked to put so much time and effort into it, and why we were asked our opinions, and why we were allowed to vote, and why there even was a task force. Because in the end, nothing that was suggested really ended up happening, except the farmers got their land. But citizens of Chelmsford worked hard, tirelessly, volunteering their time to clear those fields, and they did make them beautiful. Like, nobody got paid for that. They did it because they were proud citizens of this town, and it looked gorgeous. And they were posting about it everywhere, and there were plans and things to do there. They were told to stop mowing, and all their hard work that they had donated, all their time, they watched it all grow up. That's what they're frustrated about. They wanted to be part of the community. They wanted to help. They saw something. They were proud of it. That's what they're frustrated about. They just want to mow. They just want to mow. So, I mean, I also don't understand why it's frustrating, because if it means that much to them, how much does it hurt the town to let them mow? Let them work for free. They love it. It looked great when they were taking care of it. Like, I don't understand. It is frustrating. If the town is going to be allowed, if citizens of this town are going to be allowed to have input, then don't waste our time if it's not actually going to be considered later. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
He's going to answer the question. I
okay,
have,
Mr. Ray, you can,
but
one
he's
more.
answering the questions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Conservation Commission wrote a 3-page note, which you have, and it went to the Finance Committee. What Carl is talking about is a change from that. Now, we're not talking about, we had a nice conversation on Saturday, but we also, Carl, we're talking about a little bit of the right field, maybe from the red ash down to the stone wall that goes horizontally across the field, and mow that and let citizens enjoy that, and a perimeter trail around the right field. That would give everybody access to any bittersweet coming in from the side where we did all that major cutting, and there's a lot of berries down on the ground. All right, and to answer your other question, it's not documented, but Carl has marked off the buffer zone, and I promised him last year we would not impinge on that. We would not mow. I think we should have a perimeter around there. He said, no, I'm fine with that. Now, there's no mower there, and we were the only ones, the Friends of Coolest only had the ones that had mowers there, but that's behind the table. Now, we're not doing that. So we're talking about the left field, and I think we've tentatively got an agreement on but it's not an official agreement because it's not an open meeting agreement discussed. But I think there's an opportunity on the right field to do maybe a third of the front side of the hill, and just mow that and let people you're going to have a picnic table up there. What are they going to look at? I like the flowers. But you could mow it down so you could see the stone wall and then enjoy all the flowers down there.
But so, Mr. Ray, this is the problem. You started off with saying you want all 3 fields mowed, and now we're down to 1 field and a third of the other field. So I don't know how to fulfill a request to the select board to maintain a space in the way that you want it unless it's specific. The town meeting is welcome to ask us to maintain it in a family-friendly manner, but without defining what that is, I don't know exactly what you're asking us for here. It's just it's difficult
when the petition was written, we were not allowed to do any maintenance at all, per your instruction.
That is incorrect, sir.
I think I would say we're here to vote tonight on the article before
Yes.
us. And the article before us, in my mind, is not very specific, as you have said, Aaron, and seems to differ from, what Mr. Ray is actually asking for. So I think maybe it's either premature or needs to be more concise or rewritten or something. Or wait until the conservation restriction is complete, as the Conservation Commission has advised, and there would be input that would be accepted as the conservation restriction is being developed, right? So I think it's, as I said, I think it's premature and just doesn't really give us much direction to go on.
The conservation this issue needs to be resolved before the conservation restriction is written, beforehand.
I think
Because you can't change it after it's written and signed off at the state level, in my understanding.
But the restriction will come before the select board, before it gets submitted to the state. And as we saw with Warren Poll, that took 2 years,
Yeah.
maybe 3. And we still don't have comments back from the state on Warren Poll yet. And that was submitted 9 months ago. So I guess I don't see the downside of postponing this till Springtown meeting, and hopefully in the next few months, these things can be ironed out, and then there's no need for town meeting, because as we said earlier, town meeting doesn't have jurisdiction. All they are is providing an advisory. I don't see the downside of allowing the parties a few more months to see if they can bring a resolution, which would then get incorporated into the draft restriction that would be presented to the select board for submittal to the state, which probably won't even occur a year from now at this point.
And then the restriction
Because
could
we're
be
still waiting for the
debated.
baseline survey, we're waiting for the
specifics.
other conditions on that property that take time.
And the restriction can be written to include things like family-friendly spaces and mode spaces. So, yes, sure.
Nothing I've heard from John would be prohibited in the restriction
Yeah.
that I envision. It doesn't mean it's mandated, but it wouldn't be prohibited. Paul, am I?
That's
I
correct,
think
because the
I think
restrictions
everything
in
he's-
perpetuity.
Yeah.
And the restrictions don't get to that level of specificity.
Exactly. We
Because
don't
you
do a
don't know
land
what's going to be
management.
here 50 years from now, 100 years from now, what have you. When we have those evidence from the ones at Red Wing Farm and Sunny Meadow Farm and Sheehan Farm and so forth, and Warren Pool. So again, we're, like I said, we're about a year probably away from that submittal. And that's why I'm saying I don't see the downside of allowing the parties more time to engage in constructive dialogue, because there's going to be no mowing between now and April. We know that because of the winter conditions. I don't see the downside of giving the parties an extra opportunity, because one of the concerns that we do have with town meeting is we do have concerns with people volunteering to serve at town meeting, because some of them, prefer efficiency at town meeting, and therefore, not, having actions that are tend to, take a belabored request, as we've seen in the past. And so, and I just, again, in the interest of future acquisitions of conservation land, if this town can't get itself together regarding the acquisition and maintenance of conservation lands, and the prospects of acquiring future conservation lands are diminished. And that's really the most important thing for everybody, I think, would share in terms of how do we preserve the conservation and open space opportunities that remain in this community.
Yeah, and I think in the meantime, regardless of the mowing, there's plenty of other work that needs to be done there, right? I think the fall and the winter are huge for invasive work. And it doesn't sound like the Conservation Commission has any issue with the Friends of Coulis or anyone else going in to do invasive removal. So there's a lot of stuff that can be done there over the next, 6 months, outside of the mowing. I just don't.
I agree with you. We don't want to waste this winter time, because it's an efficient time to get and do any work there and not disturb any creatures or whatever. You just don't want to do that. It's just safer. I don't want to have a work group and that gets ticks. Carl was lucky. I've had my share of ticks, but we had an individual that ended up in the hospital for 4 days from a tick. I don't know where he went. I can't attest to that. But the Conservation Commission has a site plan. What do you call it, Carl? It has a site plan, project plan. I've never seen that until this week.
It's been up since July on the website.
I'm sure, but
If I could just, bring it back, we're getting way off topic of what we're voting here tonight, which is what's in this article. That's what we're voting for, what the words are in this article.
Yep. So
So,
I think is everybody good?
Yeah, but Pat,
If you
I would
guys
like
are
to
okay.
respond to the previous speaker. This board was under the impression that we couldn't do anything until we had a baseline study finished and presented to conservation, so, and to the third party that we're bringing in to do the restriction. And that's why there's been such hesitation, which is unfortunately how things work.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Ray or anyone else? No? Okay. If you guys are good, should we just, okay. Thank you, Mr. Ray. I think we're
so
just
we
going to
can
vote.
go
That's
ahead
okay.
and work with conservation for the winter time.
Of course.
we're
Of course.
voting,
Yeah,
we're
we would,
voting on
we would
your
love
article.
that. That would be wonderful.
Okay.
And I'm sure conservation would appreciate your
Carl,
help
would
again
you be-
also.
Carl,
That's between you and
would
conservation.
you be
Yes.
amenable to that?
Yeah, I met with him Saturday.
Fantastic.
But we have to do it in open, because of open meeting, we have to do it. Okay? That's my understanding.
I do not understand that has is how it has been done in the past or how it needs to be done. Conservation works with volunteers all over town regularly, and the Friends of Coolest and any other volunteers who want to offer their assistance to the Conservation Commission, from what I understand, are welcome to do so anytime. And it does not need to be discussed in open meeting, just with them.
So does this have to be voted on, or
Yes.
can we do a
We
no
have to
action
make a
thing?
recommendation.
I think we should make a recommendation.
Unless it's withdrawn.
Thank you,
which
thank you,
And
Mr.
it's
Ray.
not-
It's not been
Clearly,
withdrawn,
it's
then
not
you have
been
to make a
withdrawn.
recommendation.
Yeah.
So, I
He
mean,
has to vote on something. It
if
doesn't
you-
make any sense.
if you're looking for a motion,
Okay,
Chair?
yeah, I will. I'll take a motion. Thank
Um,
you, Pat.
I make a motion that we recommend not to approve Article 34.
I have a second.
Is that no action or not approval?
Not approval.
Okay,
but-
okay.
but Not recommend approval.
Not to recommend approval. Okay, we have, you second, Jeff? Okay, I have a motion and a second. Oh, we don't need to do a roll call vote because we don't have anyone on
Right.
Zoom. Oh, hallelujah. All right, all in favor
Of not recommending
of
approval.
not recommending, recommendation,
Not recommending approval.
not recommending
Approval.
approval of Article 34?
Aye.
Aye. Not in favor.
I'm
Abstain.
going to have to abstain because I don't feel like we should be taking action on it.
Okay, so we have 3 in favor, 1 abstain.
It needs to come in the spring.
I agree.
The motion passes. Thank you.
I'm gonna go to the site next time. Next time
Okay.
you go to the site, I want to go.
Okay, great. And who else do we have here for what other
Article 33, the
articles?
second generation anticoagulant rodenticides prohibition, home rule petition.
Okay. Thank you. Hi. If you don't mind just stating your name,
Yep,
For
my
the
name is Derek
record.
Suhu, 78 Davis Road.
could you just speak into the microphone so they can
Yeah,
hear you
yes,
at home
Oh,
too?
sorry. My name is Derek Suhu, I'm 78 Davis Road.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so,
He's going to walk through his presentation.
He's got a-
you can go ahead.
So, again, my name is Derek Suhu. I'm here as the founder of Save Chelmsford Wildlife. Tonight, I'd like to talk about our home rule petition to protect Chelmsford's wildlife, water, and community health by addressing the uses of rodenticides in town. What are eschars? Second generation anticoagulant rodenticides are poisons used in black bait boxes to kill rats and mice. They work by preventing blood clots, which leads to internal bleeding. These were banned in 2015 by the United States Environmental Protection Agency for resale due to the dangers of pets and children. This means everyday consumers cannot buy them at hardware stores, but they are still available online. This is where pest control companies obtain eschars. In 2022, 96% of rodenticides that were used in Massachusetts were eschars. Eschars don't kill immediately. Poisoned rodents wander around for days before dying. In that time, they are often eaten by predators like owls, hawks, and foxes, which are also then poisoned. These poisons can stay potent for months before losing their potency. When eschars are used in everyday homes, that poisoned rodent will hide in your home until death and could be found by pets and children. They could also die in your walls and creating a foul odor. In 2022, the American Poison Control Center reported over 11,000 people in the United States that were treated due to exposures of eschars. 5,500 of them were children under 5 years old. This isn't just a rodent problem, it's a community problem. Owls, hawks, foxes, coyotes, pets, and even our national bird, the bald eagle, can be poisoned when they eat contaminated rodents. These poisons ripple through the food chain, wiping out the very predators that naturally keep our rodent populations in check. Here in Massachusetts, testing has found rodenticides in many species of wildlife. 2020, the Tufts Wildlife Clinic found 100% of red-tailed hawks that were found dead had traces of eschars in them. This has been an increasing number over the last decade. Wildlife rehabbers treat dozens of cats, dogs, and other pets each year that are affected by eschars. Traces have also been found in waterways which could be threatening our drinking water. Chelmsford's conservation land, wetlands, and local wildlife are all at risk. The good news is that there are safer alternatives. Owl boxes can attract rodent hunters naturally. A single owl can eat up to 1,000 mice per year. Snap traps and exclusion methods are effective and safe. With simple steps like securing trash and reducing waste, we can prevent infestations before they start. Public education has been a focus for Save Chelmsford Wildlife. We will continue to organize free public education events like this one that we had in town over this past summer. Other cities and towns in Massachusetts are beginning to look at rodent restrictions. There are 91 out of 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts that have organized groups like Save Chelmsford Wildlife. 40 have reduced the use of escars, and 18 have home rule petitions like the one we are talking about tonight. These numbers are growing each month as we're all pushing for the state bill and act of reducing the restricting the use of rodenticides in the environment. July 24th, we had our lobby day at the State House, organized by the Mass Audubon and MSPCA. Save Chelmsford Wildlife members participated and met our district representatives, Arcerio and Elliott and Senator Barrett, all have which co-signed this bill along with 95 other representatives and 24 senators. Chelmsford has the opportunity to lead and show that we can protect our families, our pets, and environment without relying on dangerous poisons. This petition asks to give Chelmsford the authority to restrict the use of escars within our town. It does not ban pest control. People and businesses can still manage rodents. It simply encourages a safer solution. By passing this petition, Chelmsford will be able to protect our children, pets, and wildlife. We'll safeguard our rivers, wetlands, and water supply, and will support healthier long-term solutions to rodent control that work with nature and not against. Tonight, I'm asking for your support for this Chelmsford's Home Rule petition. We're choosing to protect our wildlife, water, and families. This is a chance to show our town, the state, and country that we care about our future. So on behalf of Save Chelmsford Wildlife, we thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, what are those safer methods getting away from the poisons?
I'll say again.
What are the safer methods that would be used to get away from the poisons?
Snap traps, inclusions. We're working with. You probably might have more expert here.
They just recently did this in Lowell and Billerica too. So they're using, as a last resort, vitamin D3, which is a poison, but it's not as harmful to wildlife because they don't, with the current escars right now, the animals can gorge on it. They don't realize that they're sick for a few days, so they'll eat a lot of it. And then when a predator gets them, they get that full load. Whereas with the vitamin D3, they feel sick pretty quickly. They don't eat as much of it, and they're more apt to not die out in the wild. They might die closer to home. So the vitamin D3, the exclusion's huge, and snap traps. Lowell changed this a few months ago, and they've had great success with it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Just a quick question on the home rule petition. So if this were to pass, we could put a bylaw in that says no, we have to wait until it passes the state.
But this does, it authorizes the select board to submit a home rule petition to the legislature, much like Billerica and a number of other towns have done, which would prohibit the application of these pesticides if it was statewide, in our community, that their goal and the overall goal is to prohibit it statewide. But this would allow the board to have the legislature enact a home rule petition. Then the town meeting would have to adopt a bylaw that would regulate and restrict. But the problem is we don't currently have that authority now, much like other things that we'd like to do, like cryptocurrency, ATMs, and other things. We only have authority that's granted to us by the state. So this would basically be a special law by the legislature for Chelmsford to then enact bylaws to prohibit or restrict it. But again, and I think part of it is it's sort of what we did with the plastic bag ban. You remember,
Right.
the idea was that if enough cities and towns sort of pushed it to the state would enact it. Of course, that didn't happen, but that was the intent. Much like you've seen similar things, but that have taken place in communities.
But if they do that, then we can, again.
We
it's
would,
not
yeah,
this.
if this gets to the legislature, they file it, they enact it, then the next step would be the town meeting adopting a bylaw that would restrict it and impose penalties that restrict the application of this in the community.
And it only affects like the professional poison control folks, because they're the only ones that can get it.
They
if
can
I
legally
recall.
buy it, correct?
And.
Because it's
and-
already federally
Right.
restricted for
Right.
retail sale.
Right.
It only negatively impacts them. It positively impacts your local wildlife rehabilitators and your local wildlife.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I understood the process again.
Yeah.
Okay. I have no questions because I heard the presentation last time.
Does anyone else have questions? No? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Does anyone want to discuss anything?
I don't
No.
see any downside.
Okay. Me neither.
I'll make a motion that we
Thank you.
recommend approval of Article 33.
Can you get a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. 4 in favor, none opposed. The motion passes.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Where was it?
Okay. And one more?
Yeah, but this was a long one.
Not sure you'd say one more.
Which one is your article?
These are Articles 15 through 26 to start
Oh,
out with
this
under
is
the
all
consent agenda, and then a couple other zoning ones beyond that, so.
As I told Finance Committee last night,
Chris, can you just say your name again?
Sure.
For the,
Chris LaValle, Planning Board Chair, 10 Edgewood Street. As I mentioned to the FinCom, I'm going to go through these slides a little bit quicker than I will at town meeting to spare you some of the details since you have them ahead of time. But if you do have any questions, feel free to stop me at any time. So the first set of articles I'll talk through as a group, Articles 15 through 26, since we are presenting them as a consent agenda, because they are all related to the establishment of a CBLT zoning district. So first I'm going to tell you a little bit about a background. So we have worked with NEMCOG to identify a number of zoning conflicts in town. These include IA in the middle of a very residential neighborhood, properties split into 2 different zoning districts, residential abutting right up to IA districts. And so there are a number of ways that we can mitigate these. We can work on introducing overlays, but that is a little bit, the mitigation there is really if you want to encourage additional things instead of restricting things or changing things. So we looked at changing the zoning, the underlying zoning. And the challenge with changing the underlying zoning in some of these conflicting areas is if you change it in one zone, it's automatically going to take effect in all zones around town for that zone. So what we looked at is a new zone, and it's the CBLT zone. We used Kate's Corner as a model for this, and so we worked through this zone as we work through some of the changes in Kate's Corner. And then we also started looking at a couple other areas, 51 through 57 Middlesex Street and River Neck Road, to stress test the zoning as well. After or hopefully once we do pass this, we can look at implementing it in Kate's Corner in this town meeting. But we still have other areas that we do want to continue looking at. So the summary of the bylaw changes is really to create the zone, to change a couple of the use definitions to align with what we're looking to do, update the use table, and then a lot of housekeeping changes to dimensional requirements, the SAYOD overlay, property line, street frontage. So that's why we're packaging it together in a consent agenda because all of that has to happen for these changes. After we go through that consent agenda, then one of the next articles will be looking at applying it in Kate's Corner specifically. So let's start with the first change. These are the current manufacturing definitions for your reference. The first one is the heavy manufacturing, which we are not changing at all. The next one is light manufacturing. That one we are proposing some changes that I'll get to in a minute. And then the next one is the ultralight manufacturing. So this is a new definition, a new use that we are proposing. And I'm not going to go through the detail, but it's intended to be less impactful to the neighborhood and the surrounding properties than the light manufacturing and the heavy manufacturing. If you look at some of the examples, we tried to illustrate some of the examples in here of what we're thinking of. 3D printing, manufacturing of precision instruments and prototypes, boutique furniture making, small-scale wood and metal fabrication. So really some of the small artisanal trades that we're looking to promote in this ultralight use. So because we're introducing that, we also had to adjust the light manufacturing. And so the changes that we're proposing here are to bring it more in line with what we have in the ultralight, but with a little bit more of the impacts. We're also clarifying some of the language in here because some of the language as it appeared almost gave it the impression that we were looking at wood manufacturing or paper manufacturing as opposed to manufacturing things made out of wood. So we wanted to clarify that in the definition as well. All right. The next is the zoning table changes. I'm not going to go through all of these.
Chris, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Why are these numbers, we do Article 23 and then Article 16? I guess I don't understand that, and it seems like you've done your best to confuse everybody, as far, or at least me, as far as the numbering and the sequence.
So the numbering is just how things were prepared. And so what we're trying to do is get the flow through how the planning board has been working on these changes. So that didn't correspond to the numbering of the articles, unfortunately.
Okay, and were there any suggestions to, instead of having a consent agenda that has, 11 articles or whatever, to combine some of them so that, like the use tables, they couldn't have been combined all into one?
Well, the use table is one of the articles. We just couldn't
Right.
fit it all into one slide.
Okay, but, yeah, then it seems like there's other use tables, like 24, 25, 26.
It's just the way it was structured,
Okay.
unfortunately.
It's just, it seems to be skipping all over the place, as, the numbering and, but anyway, go ahead.
So the use table is where we looked at the different uses in the different zones related to CBLT. In the Warren article, you'll only see the CB light column, but I did want to show some of the comparisons of the uses for people as well. So what we did is we looked at the IA zone, the CB and the CA and the RB districts, looked at the best of what those districts had to offer and combined them into a new zone that would kind of blend into that transitional district. And so what you'll see is it's not a one-for-one match for any one of these zones, but we're really taking some of the least impactful and most beneficial to the neighborhoods. On slide, one more, Paul. On this slide, at the end of the table, you'll see parking lot accessory use. Right now, we're allowing parking lots for uses on the same property, but as the properties are a little bit smaller in some of these areas and businesses may need to expand parking in different areas, we wanted to allow that flexibility here as well. So by special permit, a business could put a accessory use parking lot on a different property. It still has to be within the 300 feet of the principal use, but we wanted to allow that flexibility in case there was a parking lot in a neighboring property. In the next slide, you'll see that we also added the accessory use parking for industrial, as well as the ultralight manufacturing in the zone. This just shows the added footnote where the principal use has to be within 300 feet of the principal use parking. These are housekeeping. We were really focused on looking at the zone that we were introducing, but as town council reviewed these, we realized that we needed to expand that line across all of the other zones. So for the parking lot accessory use, we are only allowing it by special permit in the CBLT and not in the other zones at this time. If we want to expand it to other zones, we could in the future, but we wanted to limit that for right now. The ultralight manufacturing, we added it to the CBLT and we mirrored the light manufacturing in the other zones. So where there's light manufacturing allowed or by special permit, we wanted to allow this ultralight since it is also a less impactful use. This is again dimensional requirement housekeeping for the dimensional requirements. In the CB districts and the CBLT districts, a lot of the properties are fairly small, so we wanted to keep it as aligned with the CB district as we could for the dimensional requirements. The next slide is primarily just for reference as we get into the overlay slide. And for this one, in the overlay slide, the next one, again, we wanted to keep it as close to the spirit of the CB and residential as we could, and really minimize some of the impacts that industrial might have in this zone. And then the next slide is just a quick summary. We didn't really need to get into the property line details in the slides. People have it in their articles, so I didn't want to get into those details in this slide. Are there any questions on those?
Can I just ask how this came up, how this came to be an idea?
Yep.
This is a lot of thought and work that you
It
guys have
has
put
been.
into this. It's very detailed. It's very, I can tell like you've considered a lot of things, but I'm curious.
It really came about in two different ways. The first was the NEMCOG study on some of the zoning conflicts in town. Some of their recommendations are to do overlays. Some of them are to change the underlying zoning.
Have we just already done too much of that? So this is maybe a better solution? Is that kind of?
That's what we're hoping. In my experience, the overlays add additional options, but if we're looking to minimize the impacts of IA on residential, an overlay won't do that. It'll potentially, the overlays are supposed to incentivize what you're putting in the overlay, but we've seen that it doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes they still go in under the underlying zoning. The project come to us without the overlay, and the impact is still there on the residents. And so our thought is in these specific areas, specifically Kate's Corner, Riverneck, and the Middlesex Street Mills, these are opportunities to enhance some of the businesses in there, to give them places that they may not have otherwise been able to put. As an example, in the Middlesex Mills, that side of the Middlesex Street is zoned IA. So shops, small businesses cannot go in there. Whereas on the other side of the street, on the establishment side, that's CB. So commercial businesses could go in there. So that's kind of what we wanted to take a look at, is where are there residences right next to IA, potentially use this if the area is big enough as a buffer between the IA and the residential to make that transition. In areas where there's a small IA right in the middle of residential, like we see in Kate's Corner, our proposal there is to not keep any IA, to change it all to CBLT. So it allows the business that is there to maintain its business, but it doesn't allow a warehouse or distribution center if they do leave. So it's looking what's on the ground now and also protecting the residents from potential future impacts.
And it's only those 3 areas
That
this
we're looking at
zone would
now.
apply to?
Before bringing this to town meeting, I wanted to make sure that we did stress test it in a couple different areas to see if it would work. We're not officially done our investigations of those areas yet. We've only finished Kate's Corner, which is why it's coming before town meeting as well. But we think that if this does pass, then we'll have those discussions with those neighborhoods in those other areas to see if it's something they would want to do. We haven't figured out how big or where the property is, but we've done a quick draft to see if it would work, and we think it would. We think this could be useful in a number of different areas.
And this is just to create the zone. Would this actually apply the zone to those areas? This is
No,
just to create
this is
the
just to
new
create
zone.
it.
Yeah.
One of the next articles, very next article, would be applying this then to the Kate's Corner area.
Oh, okay, so 15 to 27.
15 to 26 is creating the zone itself, and then 27 is applying the zone to Kate's Corner.
Okay, thank you. Just to Kate's Corner?
Yep.
And you're not asking at this town meeting to apply it to any of the other areas?
No,
just
our
Kate's
plan is
Corner?
if it does pass, we would then start talking to the neighborhoods for the Middlesex and Riverneck, and then figuring out which properties would go to which zone.
Okay.
So, so that's how it's going to be presented, is the 15 to 26 will be the consent agenda. So I guess, you know, we can vote on those as a group, since that is prior to the
27.
the specific application of it to the other one.
Okay.
Everybody ready for a motion?
Do you guys have any questions or comments? No?
No, I
No,
think it's great.
I've had the opportunity to watch some of your meetings after the fact, and I know the amount of work you guys have put into this has been incredible.
Thank
And I
you.
thank you for that.
Thanks.
Good, thoughtful. Okay, I'll take a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we recommend approval of Articles 15 to 26.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Right.
Okay. Motion passes. Articles 15 to 26 are recommended for approval. Okay. And then next up, we have 27, right?
Yep.
And you're going to speak to that also, Chris? Okay.
So this one would be applying the CBLT. Again, this is an area that was identified as a zoning conflict area. It also came before us because of the Maxwell's property that was in the process of being sold. And so there was a lot of question, because that is currently a CB property, commercial property. Lockheed did have interest in purchasing it. I believe there's a purchase and sale, I think. They're in the process. And so we worked with the neighbors, we worked with the residents, we worked with Lockheed Martin, and we looked at the different zone or the different properties to see how we can make sure that we're rezoning the area for what's there now, and to make sure that we are protecting the residents for the future development. So this shows what the current parcels are. If you start on the top left, you'll see the residential zone. Moving to the right, you see the CB zone. The property that's outlined there, the weird-shaped one, is Maxwell, the old Maxwell's property. And you'll notice that the residences to the left of that Maxwell's property are split between two different zones, residential and CB. So that's the other thing we wanted to fix, is making sure that the residents have their property fully in the residential zone. If you go to the right, on the right side, it's RB. Down below, near the pond and the gas station, that is CB. To the top right is CA, which is roadside commercial. And then IA is in the middle. You'll notice the IA includes the building for Lockheed, but not the parking lot in CA. You'll also notice that IA also does extend down pretty close to the pond, which was another concern that we had, that there could potentially be high-impact IA uses so close to the pond. So what we did is we took a look at what's there, what those properties are being used as. We talked to the neighbors, we talked to Lockheed, and if you go to the next slide, Paul, this is our proposal. So the two extremes stay what they are, RB. We rezone the properties, the residential properties on the left as RB. The public area down below near the pond, we rezone as public. And then going to the right, the gas station at the tip is stays CB, but we wanted to recognize the public properties as well. So those two town-owned properties, which had CB and IA zones, we are proposing to change those all the way completely over to public. The roadside on the right stays CA. And then the property that is partially IA and partially CA, we would completely rezone it to CA. And then the two Lockheed properties, plus the Maxwells, we would rezone to CBLT. So in this area, we wouldn't, because the IA is so small, we wouldn't really have a transition area. We would essentially get rid of the IA zone in this neighborhood and convert that IA area to more of a CB light area.
And everything that Lockheed Martin does at that facility now falls within the parameters?
Yep. Yep. Because it's not considered large-scale manufacturing, it's really considered prototyping manufacturing and small-scale manufacturing. A lot of it is R&D.
Chris, if it stays IA, if you did nothing, right? That means anything under IA today on that property is going to be allowed by right, so to speak?
Yep. So if Lockheed moves, we could get anything in there.
And again, if it was changed to CB or CA, again, anything in those which you wouldn't necessarily want in there.
There's some things that you do and some things that you don't, which is why we kind of looked at the best of everything.
But I think that's what you're trying to accomplish with the CB is A, blend the zones together sensibly, but make sure that, Lockheed or anybody else that's in there can continue to do their business appropriately.
Yeah.
And then, I think, I go back to the definition. I think I like where we define some things that really target some of the types of businesses that would fit in town today that are low impact but higher value.
Yeah, things like, I believe, I'm doing this from memory, but I think a bank, but not a bank with a drive-through. Right. Those types of uses. Things that are smaller scale IA. So we took the nice things from IA, the nice things from CB, CA, and brought it all into this area.
Why can't the bank have a drive-through? I love a drive-through. That's very specific. It's so
The one with-
specific. It's very
We
specific.
wanted lower traffic types of uses.
Yeah.
So car wash is, in a CB, is allowed in CB, but not allowed in CB light. Because we didn't want that type of traffic coming into this neighborhood.
I think all these zones that they're looking at as potentials are ones where it's just blatantly, IA against RB, you know what I
Yep.
mean? So they're trying to minimize the impact on the surrounding neighbors.
I mean, yeah. My
Which
only
neighbors
concern
came
is
out and
that
spoke
it's-
very vocally about this, because I was at those at
Mhm.
least dozen meetings. And as this got built, I did watch them, come around, and they spent a lot of time working with Lockheed and everything else, so.
Their biggest concern is the Lockheed expansion. And we did make sure that one of the things that we wouldn't want Lockheed to do, which we're not allowing in the zone, is expand to a full-scale manufacturing plant. So that is not allowed in this zone. Whereas their R&D, low-level manufacturing is, which is what they're doing now. We also want to be careful that we're not prohibiting current uses in as much as possible and making them non-conforming uses. There are going to be some areas where we may have to do that, but our goal is to minimize that type of change.
Anybody have any? It's my only kind of concern is it seems fairly restrictive, which I like on one hand, but on the other, it's so specific. It's very yeah.
What do you mean?
And I feel like we're zoning for what's there. Like it's not really more than like a big picture future. Like we're kind of zoning for what's there.
No,
And
if
then
you
I
look
just
at,
worry that it'll be inflexible in the future and something might come up that we think would be a good fit there, but it just won't quite fit because the
if you look at the
requirements are
zoning
so
table,
specific.
we allowed a lot of different types of uses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it seems like as you mentioned when you started out about the zoning discrepancies, basically, that we're trying to fix. I mean, that seems to be a big part of what this is.
Yeah.
It's fixing those, the public areas that the town owns now and the the residential and.
I mean, it
everything we have
absolutely
here.
does restrict some of the stuff that would be allowed in IA, but at the same time, there's a lot of commercial things that are not allowed in IA, so it does open it up to different uses.
Yeah. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? No?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we recommend approval of Article 27.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Chris.
Oh, you got
I'm
more.
not done.
Oh, oh, God, I forgot.
We have a bit more.
You just keep going and going.
Next article is Article 28, massage establishment. This came before the board because of some, a case where the building commissioner was getting ready to issue a permit for a massage establishment, but realized the massage therapist was moving from one salon to another across the street, and massage services were not allowed in that zone, even though it was right across the street. We also, when he was looking at the bylaw, realized that the definition of massage services is outdated and not aligned with the state definition, even though the state is the one that defines and licenses massage therapists. We also found in Part D that it references the licensure of therapists from the Chelmsford Board of Health, and they do not license massage therapists. So we had to correct that while we were at it. So this housekeeping change does three things. It updates the definition of massage to that which the state uses. It removes the reference to the Chelmsford Board of Health and references the state licensing. And then it allows by right massage services in the areas where we had it by special permit. It's a pretty typical spa type service. The other spa services are by right in those zones, so we wanted to align it more with that as well.
Any more questions? No? Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval of Article 28.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Great. And you keep going. You have a few more, don't you? So many. Okay.
Now we get to the definition of family. We are bringing this back at this town meeting. After the last town meeting, I did some additional research. I want to stress that you can go to the next slide, Paul.
Sure. I'm sorry.
I want to stress that what we're looking to do is change the zoning definition of family and not the societal definition of family. We're not trying to redefine what a family is in society. We're trying to define it what it is in zoning. The zoning regulates the use of land, not personal relationships. The current definition, as the Attorney General has warned us, is not inclusive of different types and could run up against some legal issues. Enforcement of the familial definition would be very intrusive. And essentially, it's really impossible for the familial connections to be determined through any building permit or certificate of occupancy, which is how the zoning determinations are made. So because of that, we really wanted to make sure that we're falling in line with the zoning definition of family. So let's look at how enforcement is done on zoning bylaws. So essentially, the property owner is responsible for compliance, but most zoning enforcement happens when a building permit or certificate of occupancy is being sought, and that's based on the site plan and review. If things go further, then the zoning enforcement can also be requested after use is in place if neighbors or butters see any violations. So if you extend this to the definition of family, it can be very, very problematic to determine if a household is determined to be a family. We also have a relationship here with other codes and regulations. So one of the concerns that people had is that we weren't restricting the number of people in a unit. Well, the state sanitary code and building codes do take care of that. They regulate the number of people in a unit based on the size of the unit. So we don't want to put that into zoning. I also did some research in other towns and found that our original definition that we proposed, about 100 to 150 of the 351 towns and cities in Massachusetts use this or a very similar definition. And I provided some examples here for reference. In addition to that, some other towns and cities added as distinguished from a group occupying a boarding house, group home, lodging house, club, fraternity, or hotel. In most case law, that is found to be superfluous, so we did not add that in. A few towns did keep the blood relative definition, but also added an or and then added this standard definition. I don't know why they did that, because it's really the standard definition that would be the main focus of zoning. We also found that, again, Fair Housing Act compliance is one issue. The model language that we were provided is also in use by other regional planning organizations in their model bylaws, similar to NEMCOG. It's administratively simple to enforce. And also, if you look at case law has reinforced that zoning articles cannot discriminate. Commonwealth versus Jaffe is the primary case law that we were looking at. It does not provide a definition, but it does provide for aspects of a definition that they recommend. Using the single housekeeping unit language, describing the functional aspects of the unit, avoiding requiring kinship, and then emphasizing the unit's stability, permanence, and cohesion. And then the fifth thing that we looked at is the cap on occupancy in the definition of family and zoning could be found to be in conflict with by right ADUs according to the state review of ADU bylaws. So we wanted to also avoid that conflict as well. So in proposing the new definition of family, we removed the references to degree of kinship. We updated the definition to be more consistent with the current state laws and sanitary codes and building codes. And then we wanted to clarify the distinction from the transient nature of other units. So again, I want to remind everyone that we're not trying to change the society definition of family. We're only looking at it from a bylaw perspective. Another option for us would have been, instead of changing the definition of family that's used in a lot of standard terms like multifamily, we could have changed the words multifamily to a new term, maybe using household, but that would have been even more complicated because we would have had to go through the entire bylaw code and change single family, multifamily, 3-family, 2-family to multi-household, multi-unit, things like that. And if you look at the words multifamily, they're really industry standard terms. So we didn't want to play too much with that and start confusing developers and residents and people who are looking at the code. So this is what we're proposing. One or more persons occupying a dwelling unit who share access to common living, cooking, and eating areas, living together as a single housekeeping unit with permanence and cohesiveness.
Okay. Anybody have questions, comments?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we recommend approval of Article 29.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, Article 30.
The next one is school impacts. This one is unchanged from the last time I brought it to town meeting, last meeting. It was bundled with the definition of family in one article at that town meeting. So we have no clear, not a lot of people addressed it. Some people did address it and were concerned that we were removing the school impacts. But the fact remains that the planning board cannot take school impact into consideration when we are doing special permits. It cannot be considered by the board as a consideration in our decision. It's unlawful. It's a state law. We cannot do it. And so to leave it in there provides a lot of confusion to people coming before the board, for residents and developers. But it also opens us up potentially in the future where new planning boards start rotating through and people are not aware of some of these issues. And so they look at the zoning bylaw, and if they see that school impacts is in there, they may include it as part of their decision. So removing it completely is the only prudent alternative.
Okay. Anybody? Questions?
Okay, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Article 30.
second that.
Okay, we have a motion, and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the last one. When the Attorney General reviewed our ADU bylaws, they found that in general, the bylaws were found to be compliant. They had no issues with some of the parts of the bylaw that some of the residents were concerned about. They did receive a letter from one of the residents in town challenging some of the areas. They did look at those areas and found that they were not, they were compliant. However, there were two areas where the Attorney General did find that we had some potential problematic language. So for deletion 1, the Attorney General had some concerns about those 5 words in the first sentence. So the Attorney General's office did strike those. After consulting with town council, we realized that when the Attorney General does strike parts or sections of the bylaw in their review, it does get enacted on the spot. So we don't have to repass the changes at town meeting. It's automatically passed with those changes. However, in Section C4, the Attorney General's office ended up striking this entire subsection. And so the concern that we had after a discussion with town council is that, so the issue that the Attorney General did have is that they felt that it left too much interpretation to the fact that we might apply the special permit process and voting to the ADUs, which we're not allowed to do. So that's why they ended up striking the entire section.
Chris, educate me, please. What is an ADU?
Oh, sorry. The ADUs are essentially the accessory dwelling units
Sure.
that are now by right,
Right.
in the state. And this was that bylaw that we ended up passing with some additional restrictions than what the state's model had. So the Attorney General said you can't even hint that there's a special permit process or a vote as part of the ADU process. It's just a site plan review and a regular majority vote. So town council did work with their office to come up with language that still allows us to apply our processes, but make it very clear that we're not applying the special permit criteria or the voting. And so I wanted to show you this strikeout version to show you the difference from our current version, between the current version and the prior version that we had in there. But from an article perspective, we're replacing the entire paragraph because the Attorney General struck the entire paragraph. So we're replacing the new wording in total into the bylaw.
They struck the text that in either case that the ADU will not be substantially more detrimental than the
No.
existing non-conform.
Whole paragraph,
They struck the whole paragraph.
right here.
So the.
Well, because that's part of the special permit consideration anyways, so that's kind of.
So they struck the whole paragraph.
Yeah.
So what town council did is he worked with the Attorney General's office on our original text to see how could we change the original text to make the messaging clear. And this updated text slide are the changes to our original text.
Yeah.
The clean text is what we're actually inserting into the bylaw, into a blank section.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, but that sentence in particular I find interesting, but
Yeah.
that's because that's like a special permit. That's special permit verbiage. Okay.
So if by some, if this does not pass, will it revert back to that whole section being deleted like the Attorney General
Yep.
had Okay.
Yep, there will be a blank section in there that will not talk about the requirements that we do need in there.
Okay, so it would favor us to
Mhm.
pass this. Okay.
Okay, anybody else have questions? No?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we recommend approval of Article 31.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, everyone.
Now you're done. Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Only one more time, right? Town meeting?
Yeah.
A town meeting information session.
Yeah.
He's got another trial run before we get to the town meeting.
So we're going back to Article,
Go back to Article 1.
Yeah.
And I'll recognizing we've almost been here 2 hours, I'll move, try to efficiently, and again, if, just stop me, say, Paul, elaborate or slow down or whatever, but, so anyway, we'll just start. Article 1, obviously, is no vote. This is reports of town officers and committees. We'll hear from the, Christine Clancy, our Public Works Director, will provide an update on the project she's been working on, mostly capital in the community. Our John Souza, our Finance Director, will provide the five-year financial forecast. I'll provide a financial overview of what's going to take place in this town meeting. And then I also thought, and I mentioned to you and look for your guidance, I probably should just do a quick update on the pet cemetery from the past town meeting,
I
so let
think
people
so,
know where we are, because I think that would just help rather than saying, well, you didn't come back to us. Okay. So moving on, you have the slides, not going to go through things. As you can see, 2, 3, 5, and 35 would be a consent agenda, but you don't need to vote on that. So the first one is Article 2. It's $65,000 from the sale of graves and lots to the Cemetery Improvement Development Fund. Again, a customary article at all town meetings, fall and annual. And they wanted the $65,000 to purchase and install another niche wall at Pine Ridge Cemetery.
Okay.
okay, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Article 2.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
I'd like to abstain, please.
Ooh.
Okay.
Then maybe you shouldn't second.
Oh, well, okay.
Oh, is that true? Yeah.
I don't know, but
I don't know either. No, because you can still second and vote no, or.
Yeah.
you can
Right.
still second and.
Yeah, you're not
vote
conflicted.
not
It's not, yeah, he's not conflicted, so
No,
he's
I'm
okay.
saying we should vote on
Okay.
it. And I'm
Yeah.
also saying that
no. All right,
I see a potential secondary
Conflict of
connection to
interest.
me, conflict of interest, that's why I'm abstaining.
Okay. Do you think he can second? Is that okay?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Thank you.
Article 3 is, again, housekeeping, but it's required. Every fall town meeting, we transfer the interest from the investment interest earnings over the past fiscal year into the Sewer Capital Improvement Betterment Fund, because we need to do that under provisions of state law. Again, so this year's amount is $195,833.
okay, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Article 3.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Article 4 is collective bargaining agreements. This is to appropriate $42,485 to fund the first year of the collective bargaining agreement between the dispatchers and the town. And again, we reviewed, you approved this at a previous meeting, so 3-year agreement with the wage schedule and so forth, so.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of Article 4.
And I'll second that as well.
And we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Article 5 is no action, so you don't have to do anything there. This is a placeholder we kept in case something arose unexpectedly. Article 6 is to transfer $1 million from free cash to fund roadway and sidewalk construction. Again, this has been customary in recent years because of the backlog and the necessity to maintain our road infrastructure. And we have a paving candidate list at this point in time, which is always ever changing because we do evaluate the list and it will change again. But the point is we're seeking to continue our improvements in our 190 miles of roadway. We received an increase in Chapter 90 monies this year of $1.8 million. We also fund $800,000 in capital for sidewalk and roadway improvements, and again, this extra $1 million, which is less than prior years because it offsets the reduction from the additional
It is
Chapter
less.
90 that we
That was
received. So again, it allows us to keep making progress on our roads. We do have a $3 million backlog, and again, we're chipping away at it, and later this year, you'll get the update and the score on our pavement management condition. But again, probably one of the most popular things we do in town and one that we get the most calls about in condition of our roadways.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, make a motion, we recommend approval of Article 6.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Article 7 is a transfer of $300,000 in free cash for the preliminary design and for the reconstruction of Route 3A, the portion that's called North Road, and that section from Technology Drive to Richardson Road for the Vinyl Square intersection safety improvement. These are two Mass DOT projects, and how this works is we have to do the upfront design work in order to then get placed, hopefully, on the tip for the NIMCOG tip for these projects. As you may recall, you know, we're on our way in terms of both of these projects. For the Technology Drive, Richardson Road, that would be the new traffic intersection signal at Richardson Road and North Road. And we had a public input session back in July, and we're heading towards 25% design submission. And then in Vinyl Square, there's been a number of hearings over a longer period of time with Howard Stein Hudson. And again, we're trying to finalize the 25% design hearing, which we anticipate would take place this coming spring. So this would fund these two projects.
Okay.
Yeah, make a motion, we recommend approval of Article 7.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes.
Article 8 is a transfer of $100,000 from free cash for the replacement of the police station emergency power supply system. The system is original to the building. We've had to do some critical repairs in the last 3 years where there were 3 outages. And so obviously this emergency supply keeps the building running 24/7 for a facility that it's at the end of its useful life. And we really didn't want to hold this off until spring or any later time.
Okay. Nobody has any questions? Comments?
Okay, I'll make a motion, we recommend approval of Article 8.
And I'll second that as well.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 9 is a transfer of $45,000 from free cash to improve the acoustics at the senior center, primarily in the main hall. You've heard the concerns from Bob Snyder. You've been in the hall. The acoustics need enhancement, and so the Council on Aging worked with our Public Works Director and did an acoustical study earlier this year. It recommends the sound absorption materials in the roof and the back wall. And the idea would be to do this work now so that spring town meeting and obviously all the events that transpire in that facility will be greatly enhanced.
Okay.
Yeah, make a motion, we recommend approval of Article 9.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Article 10 is to transfer $400,000 from free cash for the rehabilitation of the Chelmsford Public Schools switchgear. Again, this is a critical component of buildings that are 50 to 70 years old. This is replacing the existing emergency power supply system at the schools. It maintains the electricity in the buildings. We recently completed this past summer the work at McCarthy, because again, that was our oldest school building. Now we want to basically go into more schools, most notably the work that's going on at South Row as we're doing the roof and the ceiling tile project, but also at the high school. Again, because a failure of one of these things would basically shut the buildings down. And again, they're at the end of their useful life, and we want to, the reason to do it now is we can do it now, we can bid it and get it done next summer. Whereas if we wait till spring, you don't leave spring town meeting till May, you can't get it done next summer. So that's the request here, again, as a safeguard.
Okay, any questions?
Okay, make a motion, we recommend approval of Article 10.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Article 11, this is, sort of housekeeping, but sort of an unfortunate circumstance. We're transferring $408,963 exactly from free cash to the Chelmsford Public Schools for the payment of out-of-district special education tuitions. This arose in the last month. Basically, what happened was the state in assisting cities and towns, provided an advance payment in that dollar amount in May of 2024 to Chelmsford and other communities. So they were trying to help communities coming out of COVID and providing financial assistance. And the way circuit breaker works is you can carry your funds forward 1 year. So when the school department prepared the current fiscal year budget, they included this prior year payment as part of an advance payment for 25. Well, of course, when Darlene submits the balance sheet, the state says, oh no, that's an FY24. You received that money in 24, therefore you've got to close it out. So we closed the 408,000. So now we're looking to restore that into the current year school budget plan. So that's what's taking place here. So again,
It's an
had it
accounting
been
fix.
what we would have done, our free cash would have been 400,000 less, but because we had to close it out, we're now sort of restoring it into the budget.
So we're not funding their budget.
We're not
it's
funding
just an
their budget, it's an
accounting
accounting
fix.
thing that
Yeah.
because they basically, had received circuit breaker monies, which is special ed tuition monies outside of the budget.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we recommend approval of Article 11.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Article 12 is the last free cash article, and this is a particular dollar amount. And the reason it's placed last is that if anything were to run astray, meaning not be approved, we would put the funding into this article, which is why it's placed here rather than going back and reconsidering. It's $2,484,842, or roughly $2.5 million. And this is obviously for continued the phases and the replacement of the McCarthy School roof. We've already funded $1.25 million in design and initial construction work. It's going to begin next summer. The issue with this roof is, one, is it's huge, because again, that was our high school, it's McCarthy School roof, but it doesn't meet the criteria like Southrow did because it's not 25 plus years. The roof of that building is only 20 to 24 years old. It's at the end of its useful life. We have leaks, there are masonry repairs. And while we're doing it, much like Southrow School and others, we're going to replace the solar panel systems along the sections of the roof, as you see depicted here. It's probably, when we're all said and done, it'll probably be about a $5 million project. And we're basically trying to do is keep chipping away at this, because our capital program for a year is about $6 million. And so obviously, if you funded a $5 million roof project, you're not going to do anything else. And we know the backlog is you can't do anything else. And the other thing is, well, why not just wait a couple more years and you'll get to the 25-year threshold for MSBA? The problem is the MSBA requests are such that this past year, they didn't find anything less than 29 years old for a roof. So we can't just say, oh, let's just wait and hope we'll get there and put some more buckets out or do some more patching. So that's what's taking place in this article again. And so you'll see this now, and then we'll, when we incorporate the plan for next spring town meeting and so forth, we'll keep putting money in to get to this entire roof project, because the plan obviously is to maintain the integrity of the roof and the building, and obviously the solar gets replaced and enhanced at the same time.
Yeah, make a motion, we recommend approval of Article 12.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Okay, Article 13 is the last financial article, but it's not a free cash article. It's $500,000 from the Sewer Enterprise Fund retained earnings, or that individual fund's free cash, to do drainage improvements along Westford Street. And the question is, why now? Why Westford Street? This is the area, this is the section that's closed because of the I-495 bridge replacement at Westford Street. It's about 650 feet of drainage, and the idea is to do this work while this work is, the road is closed, because it's less disruptive, everything else. But it also is an area that needs drainage repair and would also remove inflow into our sewer system. So that's what's taking place here, and the goal would be, again, to get this work done prior to the bridge reopening.
No questions? No.
Before you say that, so just sitting here, we're going through these pretty quick, and we're all voting. I just think it's important, because when I was sitting on the other side of the table, I often wondered why. I think it's really important that people know that, we have opportunities to see these presentations, watch them on TV. So I think, this is a little bit of housekeeping for us to vote on them. And if there's no discussion, it's because we've had a lot of our questions answered. Just so for those that were sitting there like I used to, I think that's an important message.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we recommend approval of Article 13.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Article 14 is an authorization from town meeting. This has to do with the Vinyl Square parking lot. As we talked about when we were doing the warrant, the town owns the lot that's right by the road, but the second lot is actually leased by the town, and we're at the end of that 30-year initial lease period. I'll just show it here on the map. Basically, this is Vinyl Square. As you came in, from Princeton Street and so forth, there would be Tingsboro Road. There's the lot that you see almost across from Rosie's. We own the yellow. We lease for $1 over a 30-year period, the pink. The 30-year lease is up. We've spoken to the new property owner, which is the owner of this new building, and they're agreeable to renew it for another 30-year period at the same dollar price. But we have to have town meeting authorization because it's a 30-year period. So that's what's taking place here.
Okay. Take a motion.
Make a motion, we recommend approval of Article 14.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then I think the last article is was it 32?
35.
35, I know, it's way to the end. It's 32,
no,
I'm sorry, 32 and
Oh.
30. 35, yeah, I'm sorry, let me speak to
Yeah.
those two. 35 would, let me speak to 32, which is the bylaw change for the ATEF. Okay.
Oh, where is
This,
32?
Article 32, this is
Oh.
a bylaw request that was submitted by the ATF committee, and basically what they're doing is that they're deleting language that specified their application period. They just found it to be too restrictive. So again, you see the strikeout language, so now basically grant requests can be presented in the format specified by the ATF at any time. Whereas if the current language is they'd only accept applications from January through March. So that's all that's taking place.
Questions, comments? No. I'll take a motion.
Make a motion, we recommend approval of Article 32.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
And then the last article is the final article, and I'm requesting no action on the article. This is the one to sell a surplus tax possession property of the town. Let me just put it into context because the intent right now is to bring it back to town meeting. You can see the motion here is no action. I'm not going to ask the board because I'm going to take no action on the article. But just to say, well, what was going on? The town acquired this third of an acre parcel back in 1979 to property tax delinquency. It doesn't adjoin any other open space or serve any municipal purpose. The assessed value is $169,000. And then basically, as we've done in the past, we do a sealed bid process with advance notice, much similar to what we did a couple years ago here at Summer and Billerica Road. So this is the parcel here in pink. It's vacant. You can see there's a couple other vacant ones, but those are privately owned and taxes are being paid. This is the one. We've had concerns from abutters, and I just think the simpler thing is let's just table this and have more dialogue with the abutters, but also we'll come back and looking at other parcels and then just do it as a bundle in the spring, because like I said, the last thing we want to do is, upset people needlessly, because again, whether we sell it now or 6 months from now, it's no big deal. But the bottom line is we want to return this property to the tax rolls, and in today's world where you get ADUs and other things, it most likely has a benefit to the abutters because it's not a buildable lot. And also, there was a concern, and again, we touched base with the planning board. We just want to make sure that there isn't any threat that if somebody acquired this, that they could access the commercial property. Although we know the planning board would never allow that, but again,
But in the process of
in
all
the
the
process,
zoning
we
changes
just
that
don't
we're
want
doing,
we just
it's
don't
a
want to
little-
upset people needlessly. It just, again, we've aired it. Let's go back, spend a few more time, some more work, and then come back in the spring, and hopefully, again, everybody's on the same sheet music.
So
know
this
we-
one's being
So
tabled.
no action, yeah.
I know we were hoping that maybe one of the abutters across the street would use it for additional
Yep,
parking, right?
Exactly, yep, so it may happen, but again, all those opportunities will be there 6 months from now, but we did hear from another abutter who was very alarmed, and again, and we know, as I was saying earlier, we know town meeting doesn't like the passion plays, and it just doesn't.
Is it the end of the street?
No, it's right there.
Oh,
It's
I thought
it's
it
right
was
here.
like-
No, it's right there, it's right there, it's
Yeah,
this pink
so
right
it's
here.
right at, Riverneck?
Yeah, this is Riverneck here. This is Monmouth.
Oh, yeah, no,
This is
yeah, it's
Monmouth,
like
and
halfway
Monmouth
down.
goes down, yeah.
Okay, I was looking
And then
backwards.
obviously this is 300
Yeah.
Apollo back here. And, and
Yeah.
again, the interest wasn't from this. I don't want it, the last thing I want is people thinking that the owners of 300 Apollo were trying to do some backdoor thing. That's not what it is. The interest came, as Jeff
And
noted,
it's, if you
from,
drive down Monmouth, is it on the right or the left?
it will be on your left if you're driving down
Okay,
from,
yeah.
so again, we'll come
Yeah.
back in a few months, no harm, but again, it's good to air it and then we'll come back. So that concludes the review of the articles.
Okay, before we go on to the next one, should we continue the public hearing for that poll petition?
Yeah, I
Because-
might as well, because I don't look at anybody showing up from
Yeah,
National Grid.
because otherwise
Yeah.
you'd have to re-advertise.
Yeah.
No one's
right?
here?
Yeah, nobody showed up. Yeah, so we'll I say continue to your next meeting on October 6th.
Okay, we can do that. Do we need to, we
Yeah,
need a motion to do
yeah.
that?
Yep, I'll make a motion that we to continue the public hearing on petition 311-88387 to our meeting on October,
Sixth.
October 6th.
October 6th, yeah.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Sorry. Okay.
All right, thank you. The next one, Finance Director John Souza regretfully is not able to be here this evening. I will step in his place. I did meet with John earlier today, and he sends his regrets. It just is unavoidable. Anyway, what we have here, going back to foreclosed properties, here's a property at 10 Smoke Rise Drive that the town's in the process of foreclosing. And we have new provisions under the state law on foreclosures. And we have to make a decision within 14 days after the foreclosure judgment whether the town wants to hold on to the property or wants to sell the property. Again, this is a property that's assessed at almost $700,000. There's no municipal purpose for it. It doesn't adjoin any other municipal land. There's no municipal benefit. The taxes owed on this property right now exceed $55,000. And so again, when this foreclosure takes place, under the current standards of law, the board needed to make a determination within 14 days. So we're asking you to make that vote this evening in advance, because sometimes we don't meet in a 14-day period, depending on what happens, particularly like with town meeting coming up and so forth. You could see how that could occur, and this actually may occur during that period. So again, we're asking the board this evening to vote to sell the property at 10 Smoke Rise Drive upon the entry of a foreclosure judgment by the Massachusetts Land Court.
Any questions?
So if this gets sold,
Yeah, we then would incur our taxes owed as well as the costs of litigation and tax title work, everything else that gets involved. Then, when the property gets sold, then the heirs of the property get the balance.
Okay.
Or anyone else who has a lien on the property,
Okay.
like Mass Health or these other groups. So that's what's kind of would occur here.
What?
Because again, why else would a $700,000 property go for tax foreclosure?
Well, so how? Okay. Forget it.
Yeah, you're right. These don't happen all that often, as you can imagine. But in this case, we do know
Is
that
it a tax foreclosure?
Yes, it's a tax
Or
foreclosure.
it's not a bank foreclosure?
No, it's a tax foreclosure. And the couple was elderly.
So are we essentially forcing the sale by
Yes.
trying to sell, like, we're
Yeah.
via a tax lien?
Right, and the reason we do that, and we've historically done that, is that 55,000 is going to become 65,000, is going to become 75. It's going to keep growing, and therefore, we're not. Then it becomes a problem from us, because if we do nothing, then the debt, the equity just drains out of the house. We foreclose on it, the town collects what's it's owed, we now start collecting taxes by the subsequent owners, and then anybody who has an equity right in that gets their equity on the property. And I don't know who the equity people are, but if it's either
kind of a
family
shame for
members,
the family,
or it could be, Mass Health, or who knows who might have it. So that's what occurs in these instances, which is why they're rare, but they periodically arise.
Do we usually wait for a certain threshold before we go ahead and?
Well, yeah,
and
as you can
sell
see,
on
right now,
tax lien?
there's years of tax foreclosure. Yeah, to go through tax
Few
foreclosure
years.
judgment takes about 4 years. Yeah. So that's what I said, this has been ongoing now for that period of time. You get
That's kind of sad, actually.
taxes owed back to 2021.
Okay.
So I need a motion.
Ready for a motion?
Yeah, I'll take a motion, sorry.
Okay, I'll make a motion that pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 60, Section 64A, to direct the treasurer tax title custodian to sell the property located at 10 Smoke Rise Drive, Chelmsford, upon entry of a foreclosure judgment by the Massachusetts Land Court.
Second that.
A motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Okay, next up, we have town manager bid awards.
Yeah, thank you. I have two bid awards. There's three on the agenda, and we're going to act on two of them. We're going to table one. First one is the Colonel Moses Parker Middle School Designer Services Contract. As you may recall, earlier discussion with the Massachusetts School Building Authority, we've selected a designer, working with our owner's project manager. The School Building Committee has approved the contract and recommends approval to you this evening. It's with AI3 is the designer firm, architectural firm out of Framingham, Mass. They build exclusively school projects. The contract that you're approving is standard MSBA contract language. We're not allowed to amend the MSBA's language. The contract amount is $1 million for designer fees, and then it's $248,000 for designer specialty consultants in that project. So the total bid award is $1,248,000. And again, it had unanimous approval last Thursday evening at the School Building Authority. And so I'm here this evening as manager, seeking your confirmation of this bid award to AI3 as presented. And they'll get going right away. You're going to see a lot of activity in the next, between now and January, with a lot of community input on the first phase of this project, which will be educational values, grade configuration, and so forth in the next few months.
And is this part of the funds under the umbrella that would get reimbursed for?
Yes, we'll
So
be
we're bidding
reimbursed at
$1 million, but we'll get
52%, yeah.
52%.
And we get reimbursed as you go. It's not like, oh, when you're done, it's like we submit monthly reimbursements for the costs on this project.
Anybody else have questions? No? Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the town manager's bid award to AI3 in the amount of $1,248,000 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all those in favor? Aye.
Okay, thank you. The next one is the Adams Library, Chelmsford Public Library, the Adams Library Building, exterior masonry stairs and chimney repair project. Here, this was bid by Public Works. 7 bidders submitted. We're recommending the lowest bid and the lowest qualified bid for this project to Tito Masonry and Construction LLC out of Portland, Maine, and the amount of $105,000. And as you can see, there were 7 bids submitted on the bid summary sheet, and you can see those bids range from $105,000 up until $276,000. And again, we check references, everything's good. It's showing you that things are becoming more competitive as we're bidding now.
Okay, any questions? I'll take a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the town manager's bid award for Adams Library stair replacement and chimney rebuild to Tito Masonry and Construction LLC in the amount of $105,000
Second.
as presented.
We have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
And then the last one on the agenda was the various school elevators project. I'm tabling that this evening. Since the bid opening last Thursday, we received a bid protest on one of the filed sub-bids, and under the advice of council, we were asked to table this, so this may or may not return at your October 6th meeting. We are working with the Attorney General's office to resolve this matter. And again, this is a project that we'd like to get bid to have work performed starting next summer, so stay tuned.
Thank
So
you.
that concludes the bid awards this evening.
Thank you. And now we have town manager reports.
Yeah, real briefly, as I've updated the board, I've provided you with a summary sheet of the fee structure evaluation from departments. I don't need any votes this evening. I just wanted to formally inform the board with more detail from the last update I provided to you that we are continuing our annual review of departmental fees.
Do some of these have to go to town meeting at any
No.
point?
No,
Okay, not even a dog
Nope.
one? I thought that one, okay,
no, that goes to the clerk's office.
okay.
Okay, does anyone have any questions on any of these comments?
Okay.
Okay, next up we have appointments. And our first appointment is select board appointment for Dan Ward for the Military Community Covenant Task Force for an unexpired 3-year term ending June 30th, 2026. Does anyone have any questions?
I have met Dan, and he'll be a good addition to the committee. So I'll make a motion that we appoint Dan Ward to the Military Community Covenant Task Force as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? No.
Aye.
Congratulations, Dan. Okay, and then we have a couple of town manager appointments.
Yeah, I'm seeking your confirmation of the appointment of Kumar Dave to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee for a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2028, and to Richard McGowan to the Parade Committee for a term ending July 31st, 2026.
Okay, can we do these together?
Yeah.
Okay. Take a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the appointments of Jigakuma B. Dave to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee and Raymond McGowan to the Parade Committee as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Well, that was quick. And now we are on to meeting minutes. So we have, well, we have meeting minutes, and then we have an announcement of determination of releasability. Okay. Right.
In my packet, it did not have the meeting minutes for
September 8th.
for August 18th,
that's,
but they were posted correctly, just they were not added to my packet anyway. I didn't know if everybody's
Yeah.
was the same.
I only have. Executive session. Okay. So I don't know if you guys, I did not review them. Maybe we
I
can do
did.
those.
Well, whatever you want to do, we can defer them to next time.
Can we defer them to next time?
Sure.
Since we don't have them in the packet
Okay.
here for review. Okay, and then we have announcement of determination of releasability for executive session minutes, but I don't have that either.
Well, you wouldn't have
That
that.
should be in here, should
No,
that?
no, it's not. It's usually not. That's just released. You just release it and then it will be posted.
Oh, we have to vote to release them?
No,
Oh,
for that one, you don't have to,
Right.
because all it was an executive session to approve minutes, and it didn't have any minutes in it, just to approve minutes.
oh,
I'll explain
okay.
later.
Okay, but we don't need to do anything. We don't need to
You-
motion to,
Right, you just need to make that announcement.
oh, okay. Oh, and they are, but I don't know what the releasability is.
It says right there, announcement of releasability of executive session minutes, just for that set. April
Oh,
7th,
we're releasing them.
segment
Okay, so I'm just making an announcement of determination of releasability of executive session minutes from April 7th, 2025, segment 3,
3. Correct.
to be released. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. That was confusing. And next up, we have liaison reports and referrals. Pat, would you like to go?
Just a quick one about 2 new patrol officers that were recently joined the Chelmsford Police Force. Joshua DePercio, who graduated from the Police Academy a couple of weeks ago, and Landon Johnson, who was a transfer from another police department to the Chelmsford Police Department. So welcome them on board, and you will see them patrolling the town very soon.
Do you have anything?
Yeah, I received a request from the Chelmsford Elks Wednesday Night Golf Club to put a memorial bench commemorating Ron Wetmore Jr., who we all know was tragically killed in a car accident recently. I'm going to need guidance on how to put that through.
Okay. Did you want to handle it?
Yeah.
So we have a form that they can fill out for the memorials and monuments form and submit, and then I can make sure that you can manage that if you want.
Yeah.
You just have to like run it by the DPW, and I can talk to you about it after.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Thank you.
And as you know, Conservation's meeting tomorrow night, and we all know what they've been doing recently and the challenges they're up against, so. And I've had many conversations with Carl Bishop regarding Coulis Farms and other issues, but everything seems to be going well with them. They're all in good frame of mind, and, you know, regardless of all the challenges they've had, I have to say that they're doing fantastic. Besides that, I missed parade last week. Pat, Paul, you were there, no?
Was not.
I was there, yeah.
So there was more food then.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because of my travel, I'm going to miss next month as well. So I read in the minutes, and it didn't seem like a heck of a lot was done. I mean, it seems like they've got...
Working on the banners, that's where you
Yeah.
can promote the banner signs.
Yeah, we get the new banners coming out. I've seen some of the designs, but we have to vote on those. And Paige Gillette does an amazing job getting that information to us. Cemetery, I saw Kirk today, and he hasn't said anything to me about anything. So I really don't have much to report.
Okay. Thanks, Aaron.
Yep, I'll go pretty quick here to be mindful. Board of Health had a meeting on the 9th, and most of the discussion, other than their normal course of business, was around the 242 Bill Ricker Road project, just because they're near the aquifer protection zone. So I think that that's likely to be resolved fairly simply. And for Council on Aging, my friends up at the Senior Center had yet another lively meeting. I got to meet the new president of the Friends of the Senior Center update. So they have a lot going on, a lot of services that they provide on some pretty tight budgets. And again, Debbie always said, if you're not old enough to join, you're old enough to go volunteer, and that certainly would, I know, be much appreciated. The planning board also met. A lot of it was preparation for this. We do have the first kickoff meeting to the task force, the Managed Growth Strategy Task Force, this Wednesday. So that's moving forward pretty quickly. Again, their meetings are pretty lengthy. I encourage folks to watch those. And then, obviously tonight, like I said earlier, attended the Finance Committee meetings and saw the detailed presentations of what we voted on tonight. And then I think they're voting on it this Thursday.
Yep.
So they'll go through they're done meeting on those. At this point, they're just going to do their votes and recommendations, and that's all I have.
Okay. And I don't have anything. So with that, we are all set, and I'll take a motion to adjourn to executive session.
Okay, I make a motion that we adjourn to executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if the chair declares having such a discussion in open session will have a detrimental effect on the town's litigating position. The board will discuss strategy with respect to 243 Riverneck Road LLC versus Chelmsford ZBA Housing Appeals Committee number 2025-05, and in a matter of Chelmsford ZBA and 243 Riverneck Road LLC Housing Appeals Committee 2025-09. Votes may be taken, and also to review executive session meeting minutes for approval from April 3rd, 2025, April 7th, 2025, segment 1 and 2, April 14th, 2025, May 19th, 2025, segment 1 and segment 2, June 30th, 2025, not to return to open session.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and I think this is a roll call, right?
Yes.
I'll do a roll call. Pat Wojcik?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. With that, we are adjourned to executive.